Baby, be in love with your fantasies. I can be a star, make us shine so bright. Welcome to my dungeon, this is ecstasy. Let me play the fantasy.
What's good, YouTube? It's your girl Asia.
And it's your boy BJ. And we back like we never left. Now we're about to jump into a video that I did come across in regards to Jordan Peterson and Eric Michael Dyson.
Oh, they should be good.
Now with Michael Dyson, he's a very, very educated brother. I like to listen to him talk a lot of times because he's very educated. Now this is actually a video where they're actually having like a debate going back and forth in regards to race. So Jordan Peterson and Michael Dyson, they'll kind of have like this back and forth, going back and forth on this panel that I definitely wanted to see because these are two very, very well educated, well-spoken brothers, and I just want to see what the back and forth was in regards to these two guys.
Okay, yeah, this should be very interesting. Yeah, let's jump right into it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Good point. Jordan, let's have you jump in on this idea of what you see as the pernicious danger of groupthink when it comes to ethnicity, when it comes to gender. Why do you think that's one of the primal sins, in your view, of quote, political correctness?
Well, I think it's one of the primal sins of identity politics players on the left and the right, just to be clear about that. Personally, since this has got personal at times, I'm no fan of the identitarian right. I think that anybody who plays a game, a conceptual game where group identity comes first and foremost, risks an exacerbation of tribalism. It doesn't matter whether it's on the left or the right. With regards to the idea of group rights, well, there's a fundamental, and this is something we've fallen into terribly in Canada, not least because we had to contend with the threat of Quebec separatism. But the idea of group rights is extraordinarily problematic because the obverse of the coin of individual rights is individual responsibilities. And you can hold an individual responsible, and an individual can be responsible. And so that's partly why individuals have rights. But groups, how do you hold a group responsible? I mean, the whole idea is it's not a good idea to hold a group responsible. First of all, it flies in the face of the idea of the sort of justice systems that we've laid out in the West that are essentially predicated first on the assumption of individual innocence, but also on the possibility of individual guilt, not group guilt. We saw what happened in the 20th century many, many times when the idea of group guilt was enabled to get a foothold, let's say, in the polity and in the justice system. It was absolutely catastrophic. And so, okay, fine, group rights. Well, how are you going to contend with the alternative to that, the opposite of that? Where's the group responsibility? And how are you going to hold your groups responsible? Well, we don't have to talk about that because we're too concerned with rectifying historical injustices, hypothetical and otherwise. And that's certainly not to say that there weren't any shortage of absolutely catastrophic historical injustices. That's not the point. The point is how you view the situation at the most fundamental level. And group rights are an absolute catastrophe, in my opinion.
Come on, Michelle, come in on that point.
The reason that Trump and Brexit in Britain and all kinds of nativists all over Europe are succeeding is not the triumph of the right, it's the catastrophic failure of the left. It's our fault. We absolutely... My point is not that I've turned to the right or anything like that, or that I'm nice and fluffy and want everybody to be decent. I'm saying, fuck political correctness. Resist. Fight. If you have a point of view, fight it in the proper manner, using democracy as it should be, not channels of education, not language. You know, it's so silly.
So as he's saying, fight for, like, you know, if you say something in an event where you have it to defend what it is that you're saying because you're not being political correct, then come with like the facts and and you know, whatever your argument is, like, be ready to give that data, that proof of what it is that you're saying so that people can understand it and not just fall into the hands of just political correctness, because that's part of our problem, right?
Yeah, and also I guess they're also talking about in regards to kind of just painting a broad brush in regards to a particular race or groups of people. Jordan Peterson kind of saying that's kind of kind of malicious to a degree, kind of taking it that far to like trying to group people together and kind of hold the whole group accountable for something.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
He was talking about tribalism. Yeah.
Education, not language. You know, it's so silly.
But Steve,
There's a chess rule, you know. In chess, the best move to play in chess is not the best chess move. It's the move your opponent least wants you to play.
But you
At the
said
moment, you're being recruiting sergeants for the right.
But
by
wait a minute.
annoying and upsetting, and instead of either fighting or persuading. But political correctness is a middle course that simply doesn't work.
Well, first
That's
of all,
my point.
you said be empirical. Now, empirical, as far as I know, the word means that which can be verified or falsified through the senses.
Exactly.
So if we look at it in an objective way, the reality is that people don't have equal access to the means to articulate the very moment you're talking
No,
about.
I'm talking
That's
about the
number one.
empirical results of this political attitude.
I understand that, but my point is simply this. I'm suggesting to you that people use the weapons at hand. Now, it was Abraham Joshua Heschel, the rabbi, who said, everybody's not guilty, but everybody's responsible. Right? That's a distinction there. Everybody clearly is not guilty. But what's interesting, look at the flip side. If you have benefited from 300 years of holding people in servitude, thinking that you did it all on your own, why can't these people work harder? Let me see, for 300 years, you ain't had no job. So the reality is, for 300 years, you hold people in the bands. You hold them in subordination. You refuse to give them rights. Then all of a sudden, you free them and say you're now individuals, not having the skills, not having the skills. I'm talking about America, first of all. I'm talking about American society, first of all. I'm talking about the Northern Hemisphere. I'm talking about every society where enslavement has existed, but I'm speaking specifically of the repudiation of individual rights among people of color in America who were denied the opportunity to be individuals. So I obviously and ideally, and I think Michelle Goldberg does too, agree with the emphasis on individuals. What we're saying to you is that we have not been permitted to be individuals. We have not been permitted to exercise our individual autonomy and authority, and the refusal to do so, to recognize me as an individual, means when you roll up on me and I'm a 12-year-old boy in a park and you shoot first, in ways you do to black kids that you don't do to white kids, you are not treating that person as an individual. If we're living in a society where women are subject to aberrant forms of horrid, patriarchal, sexist, and misogynist behavior, you...
He hit you with some words right there, didn't he?
Staying on words be just
Yeah,
looping me.
All of them, but yeah, definitely Michael Eric Dyson. Go ahead and wind that back one second back.
Okay, I understand what he's saying, but it takes me a second because I gotta process the vocabulary. Okay, okay, that word means this. The way he's talking, I'm just like, what is he saying? Talking English, man.
do to black kids that you don't do to white kids, you are not treating that person as an individual. If we're living in a society where women are subject to aberrant forms of horrid, patriarchal, sexist, and misogynist behavior, you are not acknowledging the centrality of the individuality.
Centrality.
Of the individuality.
Okay.
Sexist and misogynist behavior, you are not acknowledging the centrality of the individuality of women. You are treating them according to a group dynamic. And if we get beyond the ability of people on the right to understand the degree to which they have operated from the basis of benefit from group identity without having said, I'll end by saying this. The great American philosopher Beyonce Knowles said that it has been said that racism is so American that if you challenge racism, you look like you're challenging America. We are challenging inequality. We are challenging the refusal to see me as an individual. When we overcome that, have at it, we're all on equal plane.
I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
The pot is getting stirred here.
So I've got a couple of questions.
So let's your side spoke, so I'm going to go to Jordan, then to you.
Michael Eric Dyson, he spoke very eloquently right there.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of questions.
So let's your side spoke, so I'm going to go to Jordan, then to you,
Let's
Michelle.
assume for a moment that I've benefited from my white privilege. Okay, so let's assume that. That's
a good
fine.
assumption.
That's what you would say. So, so let's say.
Yeah, that's what you would say. Okay, now we get into it. Okay, now we're getting there.
Whoa, look at that look he got on his face. Like, oh, okay, that's what you want to do.
I think we finna get into the debate now. I'm hoping so.
Okay. Okay, but did you understand what he just said, though?
Definitely.
Okay.
That I've benefited from my white privilege. Okay, so let's assume that. That's
a good
fine.
assumption. That's
yeah,
a good
well, that's
assumption.
what you would say. So, so let's say, here, let's get precise about this, okay?
Was that very individual of you?
Let's get precise about this, okay?
Let's get precise.
To what degree is my present level of attainment or achievement a consequence of my white privilege? And I don't mean sort of. I mean, do you mean 5%? Do you mean 15%? Do you mean 25%? Do you mean 75%? And what do you propose I do about it? How about a tax? How about a tax that's like specialized for me so that I can account for my damn privilege,
You're
so that I
talking
can
great
stop
shit right
hearing
now.
about it? Now, let's get precise about one other thing, okay? We'll get precise about one other thing.
Oh, he mad now. Oh, did you hear him yelling to that mic like that? Okay.
Precise.
Yeah, precise, yes. And so, if we can agree, and we haven't, that the left can go too far, which it clearly can, then how would my worthy opponents precisely define when the left that they stand for has gone too far? You didn't like equity, equality of outcome. I think that's a great marker. But if you have a better suggestion and won't sidestep the question, so let's figure out how I can dispense with my white privilege, and so that you can tell me when the left has gone too far, since they clearly can. And that's what this debate is about political correctness. It's about the left going too far. And I think it's gone too far in many ways. And I'd like to figure out exactly how and when, so the reasonable left could make its ascendance again and we could quit all this nonsense.
Okay, Michelle, go ahead.
Do you mind,
Mike, I want to come to you on those, great, Michelle, on Jordan's point about how does he, in a sense, get an equal voice in this debate back if it is implied that his participation brings with it this baggage of white privilege that doesn't allow him to see clearly the issues that are before us.
But that is to be complicit in the very problem itself terminologically. You're beginning at a point that's already productive and controversial. You're saying, how can he get his equality back? Who are you talking about? Jordan Peterson? Trending #1 on Twitter? Jordan Peterson? With an international bestseller? I want him to tweet something out about me in my book. Jordan Peterson, right? This is what I'm saying to you. Why the rage, bruh? You're doing well, but you're a mean, mad white man. And you're going to get us right. And I have never seen so much wine and snowflaking. There's enough wine in here to start a vineyard. And what I'm saying to you empirically and precisely, when you ask the question about white privilege, the fact that you ask it in the way you did, dismissive, pseudoscientific, non-empirical, and without justification,
Pseudoscientific? What the hell is that? Hey, I just can't. I'm trying really hard to understand what it is that he's trying to explain, but
Yeah, but right now though on the subject of like the white privilege in regards to like political correctness, right now Michael Eric Dyson feels like Jordan Peterson's being kind of like very dismissive and kind of almost kind of like brash and arrogant in regards to how he was asking him that question in regards to how do we find a solution just in regards to
I
like the
understand
white
what
privilege.
Jordan's saying. Because Jordan's saying, okay, well, let's take like my white privilege, for example. He's like, if you group us all together, because that's what he was referring to. You group all the white people together with white privilege. Like, how far will the left take it to fix what it is that they're, whatever that problem is? Like, how far left will they go to fix that issue? Because, I mean, is he going to answer that question? Like, pseudoscientific what, y'all?
That's what Jordan Peterson threw back at Michael Eric Dyson in regards to him answering that question. That's why he was like, are you just gonna kind of dance around this question again too? So
okay.
Never seen so much wine and snowflaking. There's enough wine in here to start a vineyard. And what I'm saying to you empirically and precisely, when you ask the question about white privilege, the fact that you ask it in the way you did, dismissive, pseudoscientific, non-empirical, and without justification, the truth is that white privilege doesn't act according to quantifiable segments. It's about the degree to which we are willing as a society to grapple with the ideals of freedom, justice, and equality upon which it's based. Number two, what's interesting to me, you're talking about not having a collective identity. What do you call a nation? Are you Canadian? Are you Canadian by yourself? Are you an individual, or are you part of a group? When America formed its union, it did so in opposition to another group. So the reality is that those who are part of group identities in politics deny the legitimacy and validity of those groups and the fact that they have been created thusly, and then have resentment against others. All I'm asking for is the opportunity. The quotation you talk about, the difference between equality of outcome and equality of opportunity, that's a staid and retried argument, hackneyed phrase derived from the halcyon days of the debate over affirmative action. Are you looking for outcomes that can be determined equally, or are you looking for opportunity? If you free a person after a whole long time of oppression and say now you are free to survive, if you have no skills, if you have no quantifiable means of existence, what you have done is liberated them into oppression. And all I'm suggesting to you, Lyndon Baines Johnson, one of our great presidents, said, if you start a man in a race 100 years behind, it is awfully difficult to catch up. So I don't think Jordan Peterson is suffering from anything except an exaggerated sense of entitlement and resentment, and his own privilege is invisible to him, and it's manifest with lethal intensity and ferocity right here on stage.
Jordan, I'm going to have to let you respond to that.
Whoa. Whoa.
I mean,
that gave me goosebumps.
And Michael Eric Dyson, he responded right back to him in regards to kind of just in regards to what Jordan Peterson asked him. And now he's kind of like putting it back into his face in regards to just the whole part of just like white privilege and what it means. Because I feel like Michael Eric Dyson is feeling like Jordan Peterson isn't completely like owning up in regards to like what Michael Eric Dyson feels white privilege means. Like he's saying that Jordan Peterson is like trying to put it off on like the politics or like the different groups in the politics, things of that nature.
Well, I mean, I guess like what's interesting to me is what he's actually saying versus like what it is that we've kind of been looking at the last couple of videos with, in terms of like the how racism, how it was derived, the foundation of racism, understanding what slavery is, so on and so forth, and that's kind of contradictory to what it is that he's saying. You know what I mean? In a sense, because at the end of the day, it's a matter of like that individual taking themselves out of that environment, putting themselves out of that situation. We've heard Larry Elder say in the videos how, blacks are, given almost like an advantage when it comes to like colleges and school. Like now, granted, privileged schools, I feel like are a different playing field, but I mean, they still have advantage when it comes to colleges. They've done things to advance. I just feel like I don't know. I guess I'm just like, I'm confused because of what he said and what
Jordan
it is.
Peterson.
Jordan Peterson, Larry Elder, like the things that we've kind of been hearing in terms of like slavery, how it derived, everything. And so listen to what he's saying. Like I can understand what it is that he's trying to explain, but my thing is that he's still grouping people. He's still grouping people, for that and not giving them individuality like Jordan Peterson is kind of trying to explain. Like, why keep putting people and blaming people in a group?
Into a group.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, Michael Eric Dyson is pretty much kind of like going back in regards to like oppression, like 300 years of slavery, and kind of coming with that argument regarding, being disenfranchised, and then he, from his standpoint, as far as like white Americans having like this superior privilege, or like he said, like having a head start. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like his argument right now.
But how did they have a head start if what they were talking about? Okay, in the Larry Elder video, that I think it was Larry Elder that we were talking about. Yeah, where he was talking about like white people, hillbillies were the ghetto, and that's kind of where that whole situation came. You know what I mean? Kind of came up, and then black people kind of took that on. There, at once upon a time, that they were doing better. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, I'm just trying to make it make sense. That's all.
Yeah, and like I said, he's basically talking about political correctness, but like I said, Michael Eric Dyson, he just feels like in order to get to political correctness, you know, he feels like, you know, like white privilege has something to do with that, you know. That's what he's saying.
Well, what I derive from that series of rebuttals, let's say, is twofold. The first is that saying that the radical left goes too far when they engage in violence is not a sufficient response by any stretch of the imagination, because there are sets of ideas in radical leftist thinking that led to the catastrophes of the 20th century, and that was at the level of idea, not at the level of violent action. It's a very straightforward thing to say you're against violence. It's like being against poverty. It's like, you know, generically speaking, decent people are against poverty and violence. It doesn't address the issue in the least. And with regards to my privilege or lack thereof, I mean, I'm not making the case that I haven't had advantages in my life and disadvantages in my life like most people. You don't know anything about my background or where I came from, and it doesn't matter to you because fundamentally I'm a mean white man. That's a hell of a thing to say in a debate.
I don't think that. I feel like that's kind of a messed up statement to say about somebody.
Just making a blanket statement.
Yeah.
Because that's what Jordan Peterson is
white
telling
man.
him right now. He's just making a blanket statement in regards to him, you know, not completely knowing who he is. And again, just kind of grouping people together.
Let me just say.
Very, very brief, because I want to move on to men and women. A good topic next.
The mean mad white comment was not predicated upon my historical excavation of your past. It's based upon the evident vitriol with which you speak and the denial of a sense of equanimity among combatants in an argument. So I'm saying again, you're a mean mad white man and the viciousness is evident.
Okay. Let's reset. Change the decks here. Let's bring Jordan in on this because you've written and commented about a lot. But Stephen, thank you for having me ready.
Well, I think I'm going to point out two things again. The first is that my question about when the left goes too far still hasn't been answered. And then the second thing I'm going to point out is that, you know, it's conceivable that I am a mean man. You know, I mean, maybe I'm meaner than some people and not as mean as others. I think that's probably more the case. But I would say the fact that race got dragged into that particular comment is a better exemplar of what the hell I think is wrong with the politically correct left than anything else that could have possibly happened.
Imagine the hurt, the anxiety, the insult that you might genuinely feel, according to what I felt was an appropriate comment of description at the moment of its expression. But imagine now those hurt feelings and
Not hurt.
Okay, you feel great. You feel great about it.
That's really different. I'm not a
Right.
victim. I'm not hurt. I'm
You're
appalled.
not hurt. Okay, you wouldn't be a victim. So what's interesting is that whatever non-traditional feelings of empathy you endure at this particular point, the point is, imagine then the horrors that so many others have had to put up with for so long when they are refused to acknowledge their humanity. Now, I take your point seriously.
So your group
let me finish. Let me finish, though. Let me finish.
To me.
Let me finish, sir.
That figures.
You're not my inquisitioner, okay? What I'm saying to you is that when you said you were upset that I added the element of race there, right? When I said mean, mad, white man. Well, what's interesting is that you may have felt that you were being ascribed a group identity to which you do not subscribe. You may have felt that you were being unfairly judged according to your particular race. You may have felt that your individual identity was being besmirched by my rather careless characterization of you, all of which qualifies for a legitimate, response to me, but also the point we've been trying to make about the refusal to see our individual existence as women, as people of color, as First Nation people, and the like. My point simply has been, the reason I talked about race in that particular characterization, because there's a particular way in which I have come to a city. I don't know if there are a lot of black people out here, not sure, but I constantly come to places and spaces that are not my natural habitat, other than intellectual engagement and the love and the fury of rhetorical engagement, yes. But I often go into hostile spaces where people will not vote in favor for my particular viewpoint because I'm interested as an individual of breaking down barriers so that people can understand just how complicated it is. So what I'm saying to you is that I would invite you, in terms of the surrender of your privilege, to give you a specific response. Come with me to a Black Baptist church. Come with me to a historically black college. Come to me to an indigenous or First Nations community where we're able to engage in some of the lovely conversation, but also to listen and hear. And when I added race to that, I was talking about the historically evinced inability to acknowledge others' pains equally to the one that they are presently enduring. So,
but why though? Like, why are you still? Like, it's almost like he wants people to acknowledge things that have happened in the past and to acknowledge them for what they are today. Like, like if you come up, you know what I mean? Almost like a white person, like, almost like I feel like,
in a way, it's almost like he's trying to hold someone accountable today for something that their ancestors did 300 years ago.
Like, so what? I don't need somebody walking around me going, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, what are you sorry for?
Yeah, but and that's not necessarily what he's saying in regards to somebody being sorry, but really it's just about kind of, from his standpoint, just acknowledging it, and not just acknowledging it, but going the step further and actually coming up with a solution in regards to it,
But what is the solution? My thing is, like, what is the solution to, combat, I guess, your moral feelings about how you feel about things that have happened in the past? Like, wouldn't that continuously allow people to just kind of live in that if you continuously have to keep bringing it up to people? Especially, let's just say, like, if it was like, okay, white people need to pay a tax.
That's what
Don't you think that they would still, like, fester the emotions of things that happened, like, back then, especially if they don't have any ties to that? They don't have nothing to do with it. I don't have nothing to do with what happened 75 years ago. They ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right, that would just cause even more of a headache. I think that would draw people even further away from each other. Because even with this debate right now, I feel like they're just miles apart from each other in regards to, like, coming to some type of common ground in regards to this debate about political correctness. Because, like I said, Michael Eric Dyson, he's all the way over here with it, and Jordan, and it's like nobody is really understanding one another. I mean, they understand it, but they're just not trying to really come to a common ground on it. They're basically kind of just, this how I feel, and here's the middle, and they're just miles apart from coming together in regards to what they're talking about right now.
I feel like there's if that were the case, then we'll be playing the victimization card forever. Yeah. Literally forever.
But I do feel like Michael Eric Dyson, to a degree, is kind of trying to bait him into, like, the whole race debate, rather than kind of sticking to just, like, the political correctness. He's interjecting, like, the race into it, which makes it even more difficult. You know what I mean?
Right. But that's what I'm saying. It's just like I can't. I don't know. I almost feel like, it's almost want to, like, pity me, like, have a pity on me, like, pity us black people that can't make it out the ghetto, the black people that have a hard time, the black people who, you know what I mean, like, you should have more pity on us is what I'm trying, I'm almost like, As
a human being, I love you as my brother, but I stand by my comment.
Well, I've seen the sorts of things that you're talking about. I happen to be an honorary member of an indigenous family, so don't tell me about what I should go see with regards to oppression. You don't know anything about me.
You asked me a question, I gave you a response.
Yeah. You gave me a generic response, a generic race-based response.
Jordan Peterson, I would like for you to come with me, Michael Eric Dyson, to a Black Baptist church. You been to one of those?
I would be happy to do that, by the way.
Okay, all right, I'm going to hook you up.
Okay, good. We'll make sure that happens.
So I'm not here to claim that there's no such thing as oppression, unfairness, brutality, discrimination, unfair use of power, all of those. Anyone with any sense knows that hierarchical structures tilt towards tyranny, and that we have to be constantly wakeful to ensure that all they are isn't power and tyranny. It's interesting to hear Foucault referred to. It's unfortunate, but it's interesting. You know, because Foucault, like his French intellectual confreres, essentially believed that the only basis upon which hierarchies were established is power. And that's part of this pernicious politically correct doctrine that I've been speaking about. When a hierarchy becomes corrupt, then the only way to ascend it is to exercise power. That's essentially the definition of a tyranny. But that doesn't mean that the imperfect hierarchies that we have constructed in our relatively free countries, which at least tilt somewhat towards competence and ability, as evidenced by the staggering achievements of civilization that we've managed to produce, it doesn't mean that the appropriate way of diagnosing them is to assume without reservation unidimensionally that they're all about power, and as a consequence everyone who occupies any position within them is a tyrant or a tyrant in the making. And that is certainly the fundamental claim of someone like Foucault. And it's part and parcel of this, what would you call it, this ideological catastrophe that's political correctness. I'm not here to argue against progress. I'm not here to argue against equality of opportunity. Anyone with any sense understands that even if you're selfish, you're best served by allowing yourself access to the multiplicitous talents of everyone, and to discriminate against them for arbitrary reasons unrelated to their competences. It's abhorrent. That has nothing to do with the issue at hand. It isn't that good things haven't happened in the past and should continue to happen. That's not the point. The point is the point my compatriot Fry made, which is, well, we can agree on the catastrophe and we can agree on the historic inequity, but there's no way I'm going to agree that political correctness is the way to address any of that, and there's plenty of evidence to the contrary, some of which I would say was displayed quite clearly tonight.
Wow.
Yeah, I take from this one, just from this video. Michael Eric Dyson, he was very brash. I felt like just in regards to like the whole race part of it, because I felt like that was part of his main agenda regarding kind of like political correctness, is like kind of injecting like racial tension in it. And I've had enough time to like watch Michael Eric Dyson and watch some of like things that he talks about, interviews, things like that, and he brings up race a lot. So it didn't surprise me that he brought it up here. But I did want to see how, Jordan Peterson kind of responded to it. I did want to see kind of like the back and forth, to kind of see what the dialect would be, just in regards to that. And I feel like again, like Jordan Peterson, like for him, he's not even like trying to like go down that pathway in regards to like that, because for him, he's just like, in regards to like the competencies of like individuals, he's like, that's what it should be based on, like in regards to like your own individual merit.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to take out the whole grouping of people and trying to group me in regards to like, basically, grouping me as an oppressor, grouping you as this and that, that's what he was trying to get away from, And even in the whole debate, that's what Jordan Peterson was trying to stray away from. I feel like Michael Eric Dyson was trying to like group him as the mad, angry, white privileged white man, that can't understand what oppression is, that doesn't understand like white privilege and all the things that he's been afforded because of his skin color. That's what I felt like Michael Eric Dyson was trying to force more than anything in regards to this debate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this I will say I just want to hear it like more from Michael Eric Dyson, just to get more of like an understanding of like his point of view.
Yeah.
Because I think like with his wordings, I just be honest with his vocabulary, I understand what he's saying, but I gotta break that down. You know what I mean? And what he's saying with all these big words and stuff, it's just like, by the time I get to understanding what he said, I'm like, what did he just say? Like, what now? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like he's trying to explain what it is in terms of how he's feeling, but it's not completely broken down in a way that it's easy to be understood. And maybe perhaps that what he's trying to explain is something that's kind of going over my head right now, because from what we've been listening to and what we've been hearing, it's a different observation, a different point of view, a different just in terms of how things have kind of been broken down in these last couple videos that we've done, that now I'm just like, okay, every time we get to Michael Eric Dyson, this is just the second time we've heard him, but once again, he's starting out with all these, like, the racial, it's like a race thing, like all about
like a race fight.
Yeah, like fight for us. Like this is what our problem is. This is what people need to do about us being black people and us, like, and it's just like, I just don't understand.
That's why I was saying. That's why I was saying. I feel like in this debate, it just pushed him even further from getting to a solution, even to talk about like political correctness in a constructive way. You know, because like I said, when he injected the race, it just seemed like they just got further apart in regards to like the whole conversation, in regards to like the entire debate.
Well, do you think that would solve stuff though? Like if we had like, so basically the political correctness, the things that people. Do you think that political correctness will solve the problems that we have?
I really feel like no, it wouldn't. It would. It's going to take people on the left and the right really to come together and sit down and just knock out some of the real issues and things of that nature. And I feel like that's just preaching to the choir, because they know what needs to happen. Because
I almost feel like he's going off of emotions, like his feelings.
Michael Eric Dyson?
Like, yeah, like he's speaking from emotional type feelings, like almost like deep scars, if you will.
He's trying to speak for the people that can't speak for themselves. That's what he's trying to speak. He's trying to speak to like the
But everybody
the
doesn't
tone
feel like that.
Right.
I don't think that.
Everybody does it. But he's trying to speak with that type of tone, like he's speaking for like a lot of black people. That's what I get from him. Like he's trying to be that voice to speak for people that can't speak for themselves in regards to the oppressed, things of that nature. But like I said, I just feel like injecting the race in this whole debate, and where Michael Eric Dyson took it in regards to like asking Jordan Peterson these questions, it just got further from any type of truth, because you could see them getting further and further. You could see Jordan Peterson's body language. He was like,
Well, because like I mean, like if you up there and the only thing that you keep on doing is just pushing back race on me about me being a white person, then I mean I can't have a conversation with you. If you have a conversation with somebody that all they want to talk about is you being black, I don't want to talk about it. Like I don't want to talk about that. You know what I mean? Like let's talk about, look, facts over feelings is what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I'm just trying to understand it. I would just like to get a better understanding of what it is that he's trying to explain, because perhaps these couple times that we've seen him, I'm just not completely grasping it. And I'm gonna just to be fair, I would like to hear more of what he has to say, just so I can just, before I make any type of assumption about anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my assumption at the end of the day is, again, like I said, him injecting the race, it just got further and further from any type of solution.
It's very much because it keeps being injected into the conversation. Black people, white people, black people, white people, black people. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
it makes it even tougher to come up with.
What is the actual problem here?
Makes it more difficult to come up with solutions.
Yeah, because if you want to keep talking about what black people did and what white people did, then we'll never come to a resolution, because that ain't got nothing to do with us. Like now, now, what do we do now?
And that's why I was saying with him putting the race into it, it just tainted the argument. It just, not even argument, but the debate. I don't want to say argument, but it just tainted the debate.
Yeah. Okay. Well, y'all let us know what y'all think about this down in the comment section. Obviously, it got kind of, Jordan got a little
testy.
Okay.
They got testy.
And so did Michael. He was like, shoot,
they got a little spicy with each other.
I don't care how you feel. I said it, and he repeated it again. I mean, shoot. Y'all let us know what y'all think. So, if y'all enjoyed this video, be sure you give us a big thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, smash the notification bell, join the family. And if ain't nobody else told you, I love you. And we're going to see y'all in the next video, y'all.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate y'all for tuning in.
Yeah.